Hello, welcome to the Crypto with Cash podcast, episode number 27, a big fat Christmas special. I'm your big fat Christmas special host, Duncan Morland, and I'm joined by our crypto expert, Kashaya Bassi. Hello, Cash.
Hey, how you doing? You right?
I'm okay. How are you doing? You look like you're in a Christmas tree.
Yeah, I'm in a Christmas tree. I'm nice and cozy.
Nice. You've got
How
fire
about yourself?
there.
You look like you're freezing.
I am. I'm just on a mountaintop, and there's some guy behind me that is.
I've heard a lot of things
steal some
about
presents.
that
Yeah.
gentleman behind you.
He's misunderstood, I think. For anybody
Yeah.
that's just listening and not looking at this, it's the Grinch creeping around.
He's an underrated character.
He is. He's an awesome character as well. I've watched this film like 3 times in like October, so I'm ready for
Why
Christmas. So it happens when you've got nieces, I guess. How have you been recently, Cash?
Yeah, I've been cold. Outside's freezing.
Yeah.
But it's picked back up again. The weather's nice. Relatively warm again. 12 degrees. All the snow is thawed out, which is good to see. But
I forgot you had snow in London.
It was a lot of snow, actually. Probably the most amount of snow I've seen in years. I don't remember it ever snowing that much before.
Yeah, you didn't get.
And then the strange thing is that it stayed there for nearly a week, if not more than a week. So people were slipping everywhere. It's funny to see, but yeah, it's all gone now.
Did you get into any snowball fights?
On the first day, yeah. I remember I was at this Thai restaurant, and as soon as I walked out, we saw the snow everywhere. Everyone on the street started having a random snowball fight, and nice. It was good fun.
Yeah, I saw a video of one on a London train platform somewhere, and people were just pelting each other from either side of the platform.
The other side.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about crypto today. We've got some serious topics and then some maybe not so serious topics. We're going to cover Sam Bankman-Fried and the FTX collapse, the latest stuff there. We're going to talk about Donald Trump NFTs. I think they're just called Trump cards, which he launched recently to make millions of dollars for who knows what. And I'm going to ask you some things you would like for your crypto Christmas, stuff you would like to happen in the crypto space next year. So shall we start with FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried?
Yeah.
Sam Bankman-Fried.
Sam Bankman-Fried. Yeah, so as we know, Sam Bankman-Fried was arrested and he was spending some time in Bahamian.
So can you give people a one-line summary of who this guy is and what's happening?
So Sam Bankman-Fried is essentially the co-founder of FTX Exchange, which was at one point the second largest exchange after Binance in terms of trading volume. And what happened is, for a while he was signing up different. He basically got the naming rights of different stadiums. He was getting different celebrities to promote his platform. And again, like I said, it was the second biggest exchange in terms of trading volume. They were doing very well for themselves, and he was, seen as a sort of crypto king in a way.
Like
and he was named, he was on the front cover of Forbes, 30 under 30, richest person under the age of 30, worth 24 billion, 26 billion, up until maybe a couple weeks, if not months ago. And what happened is, go ahead.
I'm just shouting over you, and I just wanted to make it dramatic. And now he's
the past few days he's been spending a lot of time in a Bahamian jail because he has been accused of committing fraud. So what he has been doing allegedly is taking customer deposits and using that money to make risky bets through his Alameda Research trading firm, which is a sister company to FTX, essentially. Obviously that's a big no-no. You're not allowed to touch customer funds, and that was part of the terms and conditions of the website and the platform that, they would not touch customer funds. But what's now becoming slowly apparent is that he was funneling all those deposits from day one to his trading firm and making risky bets. And right now there seems to be an $8 billion to $10 billion hole in the company's finances, and a lot of people's funds have gone missing as a result. The exchange is now, FTX and all the associated firms have now filed for bankruptcy, and he is being accused of, committing a massive fraud. probably one of the largest massive frauds we've seen in one of the biggest frauds we've seen in decades. So just yesterday or this morning, he was actually extradited back to the US, likely because, at first he was trying to deny extradition to the US, but then I think after seeing what the conditions in the prison was in the Bahamas were like, he was like, I need to go back to the US. What's interesting and what's just coming out now is that, the former Alameda Research CEO, Caroline Ellison, and the co-founder of FTX, Gary Wang, have now pleaded guilty.
Guilty for the misuse,
essentially for committing the fraud and co-mingling funds.
Because
what seems to be happening.
Sorry, no, go on. Sorry? I'll ask you a question in a moment. Go
on. So what seems to be happening now is that Caroline Ellison and Gary Wang are essentially turning on Sam Bankman-Fried, perhaps in return of going free. So what they're going to do is they're going to reveal all they know or everything that happened, and just put all the charges on Sam Bankman-Fried.
So there's some questions there, which is one is that $10 billion hole. The other I had was Sam. Is that some of the talk is like, is their money hidden? Like, have they hidden some of the money? Tucked it away in crypto wallets somewhere. And also Sam had kind of been giving it the impression that they hadn't been doing this stuff on purpose. If anything, it was kind of like he was unaware of what was going on to an extent, and it was and it almost presented as mismanagement rather than kind of the fraud. And the charges by the SEC in the States have been very direct and very sort of clear that they knew what they were doing and they were using customer funds.
Exactly. So after this whole thing became apparent, he's been trying to, like you said, claim that it was all a mistake, that things went wrong. He just lost track of how much leverage he was using. But, there's a paper trail of the conversations they had all the way back in, I think, 2019 it was, where it shows that, they'd been funneling funds from FTX user deposits straight to Alameda from the very beginning. Right. And there's a paper trail of them discussing everything that's going on.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. And also the guy that was, this is maybe last week's news now, but the guy that was put in charge of kind of the company when it declared bankruptcy, he was really damning about what he said, didn't he? Did you remember that?
Yeah, exactly. So he's basically come out and said, they did actually send the funds from FTX to Alameda. They made huge mistakes in regards to the trading that they did. They were taking a lot of losses as well. Everyone up until maybe a couple months ago were under the impression that they're, one of the best traders in the world, because they were making up to $3-4 million a day, which is around $1 billion a year. But now it's all becoming apparent that they actually lost a lot of money during the May crash, during the Terra Luna collapse, and they just used user funds to fill the hole. Apparently, in the bankruptcy proceedings, they've managed to accumulate up to $1 billion from different wallets and from different assets. So 1 billion out of 10 billion. So that means users are likely to get 10 cents for every dollar that they had on the exchange as things stand now.
And will that happen? Users will get some kind of payback?
Yeah. It's going to take years for this whole thing to essentially conclude. But as it stands, it seems to be around 10 cents to the dollar. But of course, there's going to be management fees and other fees taken out of that before users are given their funds back. And it depends on whether, as you said, there are other wallets that haven't been discovered yet to see where they can get the funds. With regards to where the money has gone, no one really knows yet. It could be, I think there's this search for this one company or one person who's been able to essentially embezzle all the funds. But what a lot of people are now discussing is the idea that it's been shared between all the users and just the market in general. They've managed to accumulate $10 billion in losses, divided and distributed among all the traders in the market.
Yeah, maybe. So we kind of talked in previous podcasts about, lessons learned from this, about sort of using decentralized wallets and decentralized exchanges and stuff like that, and not your crypto, not what's the phrase? Not your
So if it's not your private keys, it's not your crypto.
Yeah, but I guess what I want to ask you, like, what's your kind of overall feeling like about all this, about this story, and as you're reading it and following it?
It's something that it's like it's a balance. So it's a give and take. When you have funds on an exchange, it's more readily accessible. If something does go wrong, for example, if the exchange gets hacked, some exchanges have agreed to cover some of the losses. You don't have to deal with private keys as much when it's on an exchange. Whereas if you were to keep your funds on a private wallet, then you will be solely in charge of that wallet. And you will have to make sure that no one gets access to the private keys, to the seed phrases that you have. You need to make sure that you don't accidentally download viruses on your computer, which, there are many out there trying to actively target people who have dealt with crypto and just crypto in general, just users in general. That's what it ultimately comes down to.
There's no rewind, is there? That's for the
unfortunately
average user.
not. It's not like you can just rewind the blockchain and
there's
give everyone's money back.
You can't ring support. So we've kind of discussed those trade-offs in the past, but I mean, I think this story is obviously going to be in the news for a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Because especially now that Sam is back in the US, and I believe he's set to appear in court today, if not tomorrow. So we'll have to see what happens. But I think this case is years away from being concluded.
Yeah. Something else that's been in the news recently is one Donald. I nearly called him Big Fat Donald Trump then, but I've said it now. Is Donald Trump and Donald, what was it? TrumpTradingCards.com.
Trump digital trading cards.
I thought this was a joke until I saw the video you posted. But yeah, what is?
I had to rewatch that video.
I thought it was maybe a deep
make sure it's not a deep
fake. Yeah.
Because there are videos out there where it's artificial intelligence. I've seen a video of like Tom Cruise doing crazy things, but it's not actually Tom Cruise.
There's a whole
just a deep fake video.
Yeah, there's a whole TikTok channel of Keanu Reeves, which I thought was Keanu Reeves, just doing random stuff.
But it's just his face superimposed on someone else,
on somebody
it looks very realistic.
Trump trading cards. What are they? Should we get some? Can we get some? How much are they worth? What is this?
Ultimately, the answer to that is a personal preference. But what Trump did was he released 45,000, a collection of 45,000 NFTs.
I didn't realize
each of them. Each of them representing his face with a different costume. I've seen some with him looking like Superman. I've seen some, of him standing on wild elephants. It's crazy. I
want to know who the artists were for this.
I think the artist was named. I can't remember his name, but what's interesting
is that one
guy. I believe it's one guy. But what's interesting is that people have found errors in the NFTs. So there's like watermarks in the background that they've forgotten to edit out. Like it says Adobe in the background that people have forgotten to edit out.
Because they've used like resources from other pieces of art, or because
and they said a lot of the costumes that he's wearing are just stock images, and they've just added this face on.
They can afford to like pay an artist to do something from scratch for him.
I know, it's just very strange because while he was in power, he was very, he was against cryptocurrencies. He was quite critical of them. But then now that he's not in office anymore, he's considering, so each one was selling for $99. He sold.
So these are NFTs, just to make it clear to people.
They're not physical. But the thing is, with the NFTs, once you buy them, you get in with the chance of having dinner with him, or playing golf with him, or getting into a video call with him. I think that's one of the reasons, or one of the main reasons, why people bought them. And funnily enough, they actually did relatively well. So they were selling for $99. They went up to around $600-700 at one point.
Yeah.
And now it's fallen back down to $200 or so, which is still, better than higher than what they were at the start. But it's very interesting to see.
Do you rate them? Would you buy some? Because you bought some, you had some when the NFT. So I remember you liking some of the NFT art. There was some like trading card style games.
Yeah,
And
so
stuff
I was
we
buying into
shared on the
that.
card.
And the thing is, with NFTs, it ultimately comes down to personal preference. You know, some people want it just for the novelty purposes, just so they can say, you know, they own a Trump NFT, and it is an official collection. Yeah, I didn't personally buy any. Perhaps I should have, because they're more than twice above the floor price at the launch. But
There
it's
probably would
just
have been a
interesting to see that
mad
you know, an ex-president is openly adopting this technology. And
yeah, I've got to say, as somebody who's in marketing, watching that video, I was just like, this is like some of the old. This is just like a sales promotion, and I mean, it's obviously a sales promotion, but it was a bit bizarre watching the former president of the United States run through the kind of sales promotion script that I've written in the past.
yeah, yeah. But he's made a couple million off it, depending
Yeah,
on, you know, how much.
that's
It's generated a couple million at least.
That's one thing I was quite unsure about, was it didn't actually seem to make that much money. So I think I read like $12 million on the initial sale. What I didn't realize was they get 10%.
Yeah, so they get 10% creator fees. So for every sale that's made, the creator gets 10%.
Yeah. And I guess they probably held some back. So if they do go up in value in the future.
Yeah, some blockchain investigators were saying how they kept around 1,000.
Okay.
And the second one that they minted themselves was one of the rarest ones. So again, people don't know whether there's, you know, something dodgy going on, because it's very convenient for them to get one of the rarest pieces on their second transaction, you know.
And I guess also the price of this might be tied to his political career and his career in general. So I mean, that's maybe interesting, is like the value of an NFT being tied to the popularity of somebody, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the price of these NFTs is closely tied to the announcements he makes with regards to his next, you know, with regards to the next US election. We'll have to see. I mean, with the Argentina fan token, for example, that rallied significantly before they won the World Cup.
All right. Okay, I didn't know that.
So with every win, there was a rally before in the price of the token. So with these NFT trading cards, we'll have to see what happens. But I wouldn't be surprised if it does increase in value if he does start doing well.
What I think is going to happen is they'll just release another bunch of them in a few months' time, and they'll make a bunch of money on that, and that will devalue, you know, the former car. Yeah, if they made sort of quick money from it, I can't see them not doing it again.
Yeah, I mean, I think it sold out within a couple hours, 45,000 of them. I think that one of the packages that they had was, if you buy 45 of these, then you are guaranteed a chat with him or something like that. So, which is why a lot of people are buying in large volumes.
So that's like $4,500 at the launch price.
Yeah,
guaranteed a chat. Well, like on Zoom or something. Or...
I think on Zoom. Yeah.
God, he's gonna have a busy time over the next few months.
We'll see if that actually happens. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that'd be interesting if people, you know, that aren't sort of people that bought that aren't sort of his political persuasion, and they get to have a chat with him and ask him whatever they want, and they record that.
Either way, I think this just proves that, you know, some NFTs do have utility. You know, you can't just write off. There are people who are NFT skeptics, and they say they just disregard the whole technology and dismiss it as a whole. But, you know, he's created utility out of these NFTs. And again, I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a whole thing out of, you know, the person who wins the opportunity to actually have dinner with him or play golf with him, if he turns into another like marketing video.
Yeah, yeah.
As you said, perhaps for the next one, if he does launch that.
Well, I will wait with bated breath to see what very skint Donald Trump does next. Last on our podcast list today, Kash, is cryptocurrency Santa is coming, and he's got a big bag of Christmas-related crypto gifts for you. What am I trying to say? I'm trying to say, what would you like to see happen in the crypto space in 2022 if you could have anything happen? So
so for next year, 2023.
Yeah, so it doesn't. Oh my god, yeah, 2023. So next year.
Yeah. So
it doesn't have to be like realistic. It could be some pie in the sky stuff. But also,
I think something that's important in light of what's happened recently is that we definitely need more transparency. So after the collapse of FTX, what we've seen now is that a lot of these exchanges have come out with their proof of reserves. So in essence, showing exactly how much assets they own and how much assets they're in control of. So, you know, by releasing that information, you can tell whether they've made risky bets or whether they've lost the crypto in risky trades, for example, which was what happened with FTX. But there's another issue with that, is that there is no, as of yet, not all exchanges have essentially launched their proof of liabilities as well. So yes, you may have proof of reserves, which shows how much assets are in your control and how much has been deposited on your platform. But it doesn't show your liabilities with regards to how many loans you've taken out and how much money you owe maybe a certain company for whatever service. So I think for next year, I'm hoping that these exchanges come out with more transparency in showing these details to customers, because you know, it's one of the main tenets of blockchain technology to have transparency and to have this information readily available for anyone to actually verify. So again, we've seen a number of exchanges now coming out with proof of reserves. Kraken, I believe Coinbase, Crypto.com, Binance. I think there's one step further to go with proof of liabilities, and hopefully we'll get that within the next few weeks, if not months.
Any other things you'd like to see?
Yes, apart from that, of course, I'd like to see
massive. No, but I think that might actually be quite a realistic.
I think it's a very big one, because transparency essentially, you know, it relates to every sort of process within crypto. Ultimately, I think it'll be also good to see prices bottoming out, and yes, we might see prices remaining range bound for a bit, but you know, gradually, as we've seen in previous bear markets, we have a bottom, and then the price essentially ranges for a while, maybe a couple months, and then we see higher prices as we approach next halvening.
Oh, we had forgotten about that. So when is the next Bitcoin halving?
I believe it's in 2024. Let me just check that.
So for people that don't know, if I'm getting this right, it's when the Bitcoin production, well, you can probably explain it better than me.
Yeah, so with it's regards to the supply of Bitcoin. So every 4 years or so, the number of Bitcoins essentially halves that's released into the market. So at the moment, I believe it's 6.5 Bitcoin, and next it's going to go down to 3.25. And that's actually happening in 2024, but in May. But again, it might be a month off here and there based on different factors. Yeah. So around a bottom before 2024, and then higher prices after that.
And if you kind of somebody that believes in like supply and demand having an impact on markets, that's a big thing, a big metric to look for in for Bitcoin in particular, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So with the supply going down, if demand continues as it is, then the demand is going to push prices much higher.
Yeah. Can I say something I'd like to see?
Yeah, of course. And I'm actually interested to see what you think.
Well, mine's maybe a bit boring, but I think for me, like, it's accessibility. You know, accessibility in, you know, the decentralized part of crypto, I guess. You know, because that's what we're talking about when we're talking about people. The reason people are using big centralized exchanges and have had this problem with FTX is because it's difficult to set up a wallet and manage it yourself, and it's kind of learning a new technology. And for some people, it's worth doing that. They find it worth it, and they don't mind putting time. For other people, it's just not. And I think that's, if you ever want a crypto space that isn't gatekept, you know, gatekept by large companies, somebody's going to have, or we're going to have to solve that problem. Do you know what I mean? The ability for the average person to set up a decentralized wallet and start using it. I always thought I've talked about this on some of the older podcasts, was the idea of a social wallet I thought was really effective, because instead of having to remember a key, what you do is you just, a long key that you might lose or whatever, you name, say, like 6 guardians that you trust. Could be friends, family, could be even a bank, or so your trust is decentralized across these different parties, and then for them to authorize a big transaction out of your account, 3 of the majority would have to agree. So like 4 out of 7 of them would have to say okay, and you can so it brings like a human aspect back into the sort of use of crypto wallet. I think it's Argent. Is it Argent Wallet? They have this. Yeah. It's not quite as streamlined to sort of use and set up, mainly because that functionality is on layer 1 on Ethereum, so it's still costly to use and that kind of thing. But I thought that, because I don't know if I've explained it very well there, but that's sort of like something I feel like could be explained quite easily to the average person, rather than like, remember this long password, have it etched in metal, hide it in 4 places around the country, like and if you have
that's a very good point.
Yeah, if you ever
and it's good that you bring it up, because like you said, we have discussed this before, and I definitely agree with you. I think that's one of the best ways to onboard people to crypto, is make it more streamlined, make it more easy to understand, because there is still, even looking at our community, when, people first joined, they were very sort of nervous about, creating wallets and making their first trade and buying their first crypto. But, after, with a bit of help, then, you just learn after your first couple of goes, and then you can just do it all yourself. With regards to wallets, and I definitely agree. I think the social element would help, perhaps not all cases, but some.
Yeah.
Because again, if you need to have a trusted guardian, you bring in the element of trust again. So what if one of or all of the people that you've assigned to help with the wallet, you fall out with them? What happens then? It's interesting. And at the same time, for example, I know CZ, the CEO of Binance, was talking about this, how some people leave their, for example, if you don't tell anyone your private keys, or if you don't share that information or where it's kept with your family, for example, what happens when you pass away, for example?
Yeah.
In many ways, that crypto passes with you, or when you sometimes, certain exchanges, again, CZ was saying this, and he was obviously talking about Binance. He was saying how if you have your crypto on Binance and you pass away, then there is a process for which your family can then come and let the exchange know, and then they have a process of passing that crypto back to your family.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It's interesting. It goes both ways, it just depends. But I definitely agree with you. I think we need different options for different people.
Yeah, if anyone's interested in that, Vitalik wrote about the founder of Ethereum. He wrote about that on his blog, earlier in the year, I think. Another thing I thought of then that I'd like to see is, I remember when I first started reading about crypto, probably in 2017, 2018, when, I first met you, I guess. And I read some books by, I think you'll know his name is Antonopoulos.
Yeah, I find it difficult to pronounce his name as well.
So he'd written, but the books were all about kind of the social implications of crypto. They were much more about the technology, and I just would like, future bull markets in the crypto space to be more focused on that. I know people want to invest in this space to make money, but I did also really enjoy, it was almost like reading science fiction, reading about some of the use cases and things like this.
Yeah.
And again, to talk about Vitalik from Ethereum, the Ethereum founder, he's done some recent talks that are on YouTube that are about use cases that are outside of kind of like money and making more money. So they're worth watching. But yeah, I hope that the next bull run and the next people's reasons for investing in this space become a bit more nuanced. Do you know what I mean? Rather than it's going up.
Yes. Like a protocol actually is used.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to just speculation. Yeah.
Which brings us nicely to crypto with Kash, because you do that with every one of your picks. I think their use case, they have a real heavy use case.
Absolutely,
yeah. And I should mention to people, over the Christmas period towards New Year, there will be a special Crypto with Cash discount. So keep an eye out for that. There'll be more information. If you've made it to the end of this podcast, that is, and you're hearing this information. Do you, before we finish, Cash, do you have a Christmas crypto message for everyone, or just a non-crypto one?
Yeah, I'm just going to wish everyone a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and just look after yourselves, and keep up to date with the markets, because the bear markets are when the best opportunities present themselves.
Yeah, very true. And I'll echo what you've just said and say Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you to everyone that's listened throughout the year and this podcast. Maybe next year we'll think of some more fun things to do and get more creative with it. Thank you for your time today, Cash.
Thanks as always, Duncan.
That's all right. And me and the Grinch are gonna go and find some mince pies to eat or something. Okay, well, take care, Cash.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, bye.